Good evening, everybody. Very nice presentation by both the colleges, and it was fascinating to hear the students making a proposition, rebutting each other, and you would be so alert all the time. I was very happy to hear that. Moving on to my favorite subject, leadership. Why is it my favorite subject? Actually, this is something which is present in every facet of life. Schools, colleges, business organizations, political organizations, NGOs, even the country as a whole. And the presence of leadership can make a difference. And the absence of leadership can make a difference. As currently perhaps being seen at the national level, the absence of leadership is seeing that our country seems to be going adrift, despite the tremendous potential which exists in our country today. So, let me begin by being a leader is not the same as being an entrepreneur or a manager or an owner. Those are leadership positions, and a leadership position and being a leader are two different things. You can be a union leader, you can be a worker without having any position and yet have a whole following behind you. Mahatma Gandhi was an example of a person who didn't own any organization. He was not the chairman of any organization, and yet he had a whole country go behind him. Leadership basically is all about people. What does it begin with? It begins with a vision. Everybody can see with their eyes. But vision is the ability to see something that others can't see. See the unseen. See the unseeable. Look at how Apple as an organization, Steve Jobs, looked at music as a huge opportunity. Who would have thought something like an iPod would become such a big product? Look at how he turned the whole PC games into iPad, and tablets are becoming standard. It's vision, seeing something that others just can't see. But the vision needs to be translated into goals. And then the next thing is execution. Plan, how to get there. Team, with whom to get there. Change, making it happen. And action, start doing it. Now some parts of this, because I am now moving more to the organizational setting, because we are a business organization management association, I will spend the rest of my talk on the business organization. Now some parts of this come under management. For example, planning, action, etc. Those come under management. So team and change, that becomes the context of leadership. And the teams need alignment. A group of people don't form a team automatically unless they are aligned to the vision. And alignment comes from communication. Communication begins with listening. As you saw today, if you did not listen to each other, there was no way you could rebut, and there were points I could see for rebutting and adding to the rebuttals. So listening. Listening, of course, with the ears, but listening with the entire body. Are you interested in the other person? Are you seeing the person's body language? We saw this just today. Sometimes when the person was speaking and did not notice the questions raised by the other person, because you were not perhaps watching the body language. So listening. Listening creates empathy. Very often people in leadership positions are so used to just speaking, pointing out their point of view, that they don't listen. And an organization where the top leadership is listening to juniors becomes a much wiser organization. After listening, communicate. Listening creates the context, and then you communicate your message. And it has to be communicated in simple ways, and again and again and again. Because a complicated vision cannot be understood by each member of the rank and file. Vision is something, if properly communicated, has to be understood, that each worker has to understand how do I fit into that vision. And as you listen and communicate, you also involve your people. And as you involve the people, they feel that they belong. This vision is theirs. This organization is theirs. A feeling of ownership comes in. And when a feeling of ownership comes in, nobody has to get behind them to work hard. They work automatically. Things get done automatically. That is the power of ownership. And last, when ownership happens, hearts get connected. Now, in the world of business, which is talking of hard money and systems and strategy and structure, this is something different. This is my way of looking at things, that if you can connect the hearts, other things, the probability of other things falling into place is far high. So alignment comes from communication, but alignment also needs motivation. Only if people are motivated would they get aligned. So how do you really create motivation? So creating a positive environment leads to motivation. Nothing complicated, no rocket science. Smiling. Very often we see senior leadership very serious-minded, very morose in the face, as if the whole burden of the entire world is on their heads. A small smile makes a big difference. It tells the other person, I am approachable, you can talk to me. Appreciate. Very often we take good work for granted, and the work is not up to the mark, then of course we hear about it. It happens at home. When the food is good, it is taken for granted. And the food is not up to the mark, everybody hears about it. So small things of learning to see something and appreciate. Somebody is looking nice. Just tell the person you're looking nice. But you feel shy. Respect. Respect is something that elders expect younger people to give them respect. Seniors expect juniors to give them respect. I'm talking about the other way around. If you're elder, respect your youngers. If you're senior in your leadership position, respect your juniors. And that is the beauty of leadership, that you respect people regardless of their hierarchy, regardless of their position. You respect people because that is the way you are. If the other person is a jamadar, if the other person is a peer, a worker, it doesn't matter. Respect. Fourth, delegate. Very often, people in leadership positions hold on to work as if it's something so precious that they can't let go of that. It has to be done by me, then is the only way it be done properly. Now, if you do that, how are you going to build an organization? How are you going to demonstrate your leadership? So delegation is a very important part of leadership. And when can you delegate? Unless you've been training your people constantly. So very often, organizations develop the culture, pick up trained people from other organizations. Why waste money in training? Training costs money. But good organizations which foster leadership are constantly training their people and invest heavily in training. Training is an investment and not a cost. Some other personal traits. Control of anger. Very often, seniors presume it is the right to get angry at juniors. I would like to see a junior getting angry at a senior and protecting his job. So juniors are expected to absorb their anger, and seniors, it's their right to get angry at anybody. I have yet to see somebody who comes back after a good firing and say, my God, I just got a firing from the boss, I'm so motivated just now. Anger is something which can be used as a tool. It can be very effective as a tool, but only if it is used sparingly. And when you use it as a tool means you are not angry, you are just demonstrating some anger. But very often what happens? Some work has not been done, a deadline has been missed, and you lose your shirt. And that creates problems in an organization. Controlling of ego. I am senior, he should stand up, he should wish me. If he doesn't wish me, why can't I wish him? He should come to my office, and why can't I go to his office? So small things like that, small gestures like that, endear a person to his team. And that becomes part of a culture of an organization, and that flows from the top. And last, celebrate. You met some targets, celebrate. You've done something good, celebrate. A new order has come, celebrate. Let the whole world know. World meaning your own organization. Feel good about it. So very often what happens, we take good work for granted, and when the things are not up to the mark, everyone knows this is not up to the mark. The point is, good thing, celebrate, feel good about it, don't get complacent, move on. But celebrate each victory. Because once you celebrate the victories, the small victories, it prepares a team for the bigger battle. And of course, highly motivated people are self-starters. They are risk takers. If they know their boss will back them, if they know their top leadership has faith in them, they will take risks. They will take initiatives. They will create an infectiously positive atmosphere. Because once you create a team of energetic people, happy people, it spreads from one to the other and from the other to the other and so on. These people get things done. They don't linger on. They don't allow things to linger. They just get things done. And of course, they propagate leadership. Such an organization then starts generating leaders. It becomes part of the DNA of the organization. That we are in the business of creating leaders. You may be in a textile business, or a pharmaceutical business, or a chemical business. That is the secondary part. But primary business is the business of creating leaders. How do I define leadership? This is in my book. So some of you here in the audience I know have read my book, but just to repeat, this was also part of my lecture 5 years ago. But I have basically defined leadership as an acronym. L stands for love. Where all of us think we understand love. I love my children. I love my parents. I love my sister. I love my wife. I love my husband, etc. It's all the other person. That's not what love is. Love is you become a loving human being, and love flows out from you towards everybody, regardless of who they are. You become a loving human being. It's your quality. And it will manifest in real life by what I said earlier: respect, trust, faith in people. Understanding differences and saying it's okay to be different. E, energy. The leader is a high energetic person, and around him people get automatically energized. His presence generates energy. He doesn't have to say anything. Around him, it happens. A, action orientation. The leader is action oriented. He doesn't sleep. He moves. But not only is he action oriented, around him people become automatically action oriented. D, development of people. The leader develops people, and around him people get automatically developed. Now, if all this thing is happening automatically, that's too much of a coincidence. So how can it happen automatically? Because E, there is an emotional connect that the leader has with his team, with his people. The people are willing to do anything for the leader. And in that kind of environment, the above three happen automatically. Now, how can that emotional connect happen? When the leader is a role model. The leader is somebody that others would want to follow. How can you become that kind of person? You can become that kind of person only when you are self-aware. You are aware of who you are, you are aware of what you are, you are aware of your thoughts. You are not guided by somebody else because of your religion, or your region, or your country. Those are that I respect this person. Most of us are putting up on a mask so that others can respect us. Forget others. Leadership is all about you as a human being. Me. Do I respect myself? In silence, when I'm alone, can I stare at myself and say, I think I'm a good person? That, ladies and gentlemen, I think is the crux of leadership, self-awareness. And when you're self-aware, you automatically are a happy person and you spread happiness. And then you inspire people. And inspired people can go to tremendous lengths to achieve things, get things done, and then, as I said earlier, it becomes infectious. It spreads. Now, a whole country can rise behind an individual. A whole region can rise behind an individual. It can be in a company, it can be in a family, any sphere, leadership is present everywhere. People are hungry for inspiration, especially in India now, with such a large mass of youth. They are looking forward to somebody to inspire them. And what do they see? Somewhere I feel our generation and perhaps the generation ahead of us, elder than us, we have failed the younger generation because you look ahead, who do you see get inspired? The current lot of politicians and the current lot of robber barons who are looting the country. I think that is not the kind of inspiration the younger generation is looking forward to. So that's something, I think for a leader, he needs to be something that can inspire people. And then P, passion. He has to have passion for a cause. And that cause has to be something beyond just his or her selfish needs. A cause has to be a much bigger cause. Again, it has to be the organization, or the region, or the nation, or humanity at large, but a much bigger cause. The bigger the cause, the higher the stature of the leader. Passion. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how I have tried to define leadership. This is not what comes in textbooks. But then this definition of leadership I have put into my book. So now, and Dr. Kang's College has actually taken up my book as a curriculum for leadership. So now this is in a textbook for leadership. So it's finally reached there. So all this I've written out here is based on my personal experience of the last 20 years. 24 years now, I keep forgetting how. As you get older, you keep forgetting how many years of work experience you have. Briefly, my experience, last 2 years I've got involved in the steel business. And this book I wrote was a fiction, was a novel about how to turn around a steel company. And I wrote this book, and the moment I finished this book, I got the steel business to run. So I had no idea of steel before that. Secret, exactly. And I am actually following everything I wrote in the book in real life in our steel business. The interesting part, when we started the steel business had done sales of about 250 to 350 crores over the last 7-8 years. And when I come back to this part, I just demonstrate one part. Alignment. When I got into this business, my vision was to make this a much greater business than what the team had already done. The team before me had built a good platform, had a good name, good quality, but my vision was to make it perhaps the best alloy steel plant in the country. That was the vision. How did I do the other part? I didn't know steel at all. So I said, let me listen. So we had a group of our people, the top 50 people. I asked them, do you have dreams about the steel business? Please put down your dreams on paper. And they put down their dreams on paper, and we worked a plan from those dreams into an action plan that we as a company would do. So let me give you one example of a dream. So somebody said a dream, this was in January of 2010, and they said we were at that time in 2009-10, our sales was 250 crores. They said a dream